Hi, I'm Dr. Matt Harris, and this is the EdTech vlog, coming to you again from the middle of COVID insanity, COVID craziness around the world. I want to talk about something a little bit different today, and I want to talk about digital hygiene or cyber hygiene. So let me give you some context. Yesterday, I was moderating a panel of cybersecurity experts, and we were talking about this notion of taking the same approaches to your digital health as you're taking for your physical health. Now, again, some more context here. Over the last couple of months, as students and teachers and parents have been online doing interactions and learning digitally with remote learning or home learning, there have been a number of cyber attacks. There have been a lot of security issues that have come through. There have been data breaches and data privacy challenges across the board. So we were talking about that yesterday, and the conclusion that I kind of came to in this discussion is you almost have to treat your digital health the same way we're treating our physical health. And in this COVID-19 world right now, we really have three things that we've taken away from this. And one is social distancing and washing your hands, right? Kind of that self-protection. There is the notion of wearing masks whenever you go outside. And then there's this idea of quarantine. And those fit directly to this idea of digital health. So let's talk about that in terms of best practices to ensure that you're not a victim of cyber attacks, and we can take some preventative measures, and then we can take some kind of reactive measures if there are problems along the way. So let's start with this idea about washing your hands and social distancing. So the idea in the real world is that we wash our hands to keep the virus away. Well, the same idea in digital health. We need to kind of scrub our computers clean. And how do you do that? How do you scrub your computer clean? Well, we don't open any attachments on any emails. We don't click on things that we don't know, whether it's a link or, like I said, an attachment. I even heard one yesterday that people are sending in GIFs on emails that are being opened by students. Don't click on those things. That doesn't work. Well, it does work. It works to get you infected. So don't do that. Next, keep your passwords up to date and difficult. So go onto a website and figure out what is a good way to create a really secure password and follow those rules and update the passwords you have, especially for tools that you're using regularly, like your computer or like your Apple account or your Google account or your Microsoft account. Those things that you use quite regularly, having a robust password is absolutely critical. Next, we need to make sure that people don't have access to our machines. So having a real clear protective element on your computer or your phone so that people can't get to your materials is very important. That may be going on to secure networks only, having some sort of virus protector, some anti-spyware, something like that. Having some software or some practice to make sure that people can't get on is absolutely critical. Now, beyond washing our hands, though, we also kind of want a social distance, which means we need to stay away from some of the items that can be real difficult for many students to separate them from some of the dangers out there. So don't put your students into situations where they could be tempted to go click on a link or get access to something inappropriate. When you're using your virtual conferencing software like Zoom or Google Meet or Teams or whatever, make sure that the security measures are in place so that outside people can't get in. And then protect that data, right? It's not only the access to the physical computer, it's the access to the data therein that people are really looking for. So ensure that your data is protected in a way by either separating it, encrypting it, or putting it somewhere else. One of the things I recommend is kind of a social distancing, or even, as we're going to talk about in a second, putting that mask across the face, is to create a separate account for schoolwork than I do for regular work. Okay? So if you have data that you're using on a regular basis on a shared computer, make sure that the students are using a different account than the one that you're using. That way, when they go online and download things, there's less of an opportunity to be infected or have items stolen than they would from a regular account. So separate and segregate, and that is a way of kind of social distancing. Next, in all of our interactions and all of our connections with others, assume that you have that mask in front of your face. Right? And we keep that mask on so that we're not infecting others, so that we're not sharing things that are bad from us, but then we're also not getting them from them. So don't give too much personal information out when you're having virtual conversations. Don't share too much about what's going on in your home. Don't share too much about things that people can derive personal information about you related to anything. So any personal information is not going to be something that is useful within a learning context unless it's specifically asked for by a teacher. So don't volunteer too many of those things because folks may use that as a way of trying to breach your privacy. So don't do that. Okay, and then what happens if you do get infected or you have an attack? And this is where quarantine comes in. Now, the way that we're doing this with COVID-19 is if somebody is infected, we quarantine them somewhere else. We put them in a separate space, a separate room, whatever. Do the same thing with your attacks. So if you have somebody coming into a video conferencing that it shouldn't be there, we quarantine them. We push them off to the side. So that may mean turning off their camera, turning off whatever, turning off the sound, cutting them, shutting things down. We're quarantining them from us, okay? What happens if you get an attack on your computer? Shut down the computer, take it off the internet, unplug your phones, get it off the web. Take that device and move it to the side, right? Quarantine it. If there is something within your email that you're kind of questionable about, get rid of it, quarantine it, get it out of the way. Anything that you suspect is breached or infected or is wrong, get it out of the way. And if that means you need to reset your computer, you might need to do that. If it means you need to reset all of your passwords because you don't trust them, go do that. Take the same quarantine safety approaches that you would if somebody infected with COVID-19 was in the room with you. You would put them to the side, you'd put a barrier over them, and you would then deal with them separately than the way you deal with everything else. Same thing for your computer. If you take those three approaches, kind of the wash our hands and social distancing, the putting a mask up whenever we're interacting with anybody else, and quarantining when there's a problem, you will have a pretty decent digital hygiene, and this COVID-19 crisis won't infect you in the long term, is what I'm trying to say. If you need any help with that, please contact me. You can go onto my website, mattharrisedd.com or internationaledtech.com. Send me a note. I can send you some more tips. I can talk you through some challenges. I'm happy to do this. We're all in this together. Yeah. And then as I've said on every one of these videos so far, for the teachers and the parents and the students, the people going through this, you really are doing great. Keep it up. Keep doing such a good job. All right. Have a wonderful weekend. Everybody stay safe out there.